I know that it's my time to shine. Don't need
It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey.
love and all that I see when I'm looking at me. Just high quality, irresistible me.
Hi, it's Ivy Slater, and welcome back to Her Success Story. Today, I'm truly excited. We're kicking off a series for the holidays that's all about nonprofits. And nonprofits are amazing resources in doing good, giving back, and how people show up. But also, always know nonprofits are businesses. Please check back to the episode last week if you want to have a little background information on what we're endeavoring here. I'm really excited to introduce Joi Gordon, who's the CEO of Dress for Success. I've had the pleasure of knowing Joi about 10 years now and was introduced to her when I was first starting this company. So this is a personal thing, and it means a lot for Joi to take time out of her busy day to join us. Let me just give you a little background. Joi joined Dress for Success in 1992 and took over the leadership in 2002 with the primary goals is to ensure that Dress for Success becomes recognized as a global leader, empowering women in their economic and social development to expand the organization's reach so that more and more women across the globe can have access to the resources and tools they need to succeed in the workplace. In my small span of 10 years as a participant in Dress for Success, I have seen Joi lead women and build various levels of programming. So it's not just about the dress and success, but programming in helping women find the greatest jobs and the fits for them. And then not just stopping there, but developing a mentorship program. So once you have your job, you really can have the leadership and start building a career and getting yourself back on track. You have Joi built a health wing. You look at women on the outside as well as the inside, and hats off to you from taking this organization literally from A to beyond Z. So welcome, Joi Gordon.
Thank you, Ivy.
So, back in the day when you were brought on here, where were you then that you took this role and then built on it and saw a vision that truly has expanded on so many levels?
Sure. So when Dress for Success started, which is now about 22 years ago, I, like many people, saw the founder of Dress for Success. She was somewhat of a media darling, and she was always on television, always promoting the startup of this organization that was going to help women get back to work. And I, like many people, were watching television one morning and saw her talking about Dress for Success. I heard her and her call to action. She was asking women to go into their closets and to donate a gently used suit. And at the time, I was a lawyer and I wore suits every day. And for me, that seemed easy. It seemed easy to reach into my closet and pull out a suit and donate it to an organization because I knew exactly how I felt every single morning when I would get ready for work and I'd put on what was my power suit. I knew that other women could feel the same way. And so I really first reached out only to donate a suit. From that conversation with our founder, I became a board member. That was pretty quick. She needed someone with my skill set on the board, and I joined the board, and I'd never been on a board before, but it sounded fun, and it sounded like something I could be a part of. And honestly, within a year, I left what I was doing and the practice of law. I've never looked back. I started out working in the basement of a church for Dress for Success. And you fast forwarded now, 21 years later, we're in 163 cities, 30 countries around the world. And just as you mentioned in the beginning, we're so much more than clothing today. It has to be more than clothing because the women truly rely upon us, they trust us, and they believe that we are going to help them succeed. And so we've got to give her all the support she needs, not only to land a job, but to keep her job and everything in between and everything afterwards. And so we've created kind of a robust series of programs and support networks and leadership development and financial literacy and health and wellness, and really looking at how does this woman thrive in her work and in her life. And that's what Dress for Success has become. It's this organization that transforms women's lives and in some cases might even save a woman's life, because we're giving her the tools she needs to succeed and the support she needs to get through some of the toughest times in her life so that she can find her purpose and begin to soar.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And because I remember when I got introduced to Dress for Success back in the day myself, and I was like, oh, I was transitioning from printing to opening Slater Success. I was like, and I decided then, I was like, you know, I was giving up my power suit. I was like, okay, I've worn suits for 20 some odd years. I had 4 colors in my closet. They were black, brown, gray, and navy. They each had a skirt and a pant. And I was like, you know what? It's my rebirth, and it was time for me to pass forward. And so when I did it, I packed up my first bag for Dress for Success. And, you know, I came, and I remember a mutual friend named Leslie connected us. And when I told her what I was doing with Slater Success, she goes, you need to meet Joi, and you need to make a difference. And I was like, oh, no, I wouldn't have the guts to say no to Leslie. So of course I said yes. And we met, and I was like, oh, you mean you do this? Oh, and you do this? And oh, and then there's the financial literacy. And oh, and then we added the walk, and like, let's get healthy. I'm like, yeah, because healthy women can do more in our days, right? We can
absolutely
be better leaders.
I mean, we need her to be healthy and well. And we need her to also be well in her job. And so it's a very holistic approach to how she takes care of herself, her mind, her body, her soul, as she prepares to be a working woman and take care of herself and her children. Because most of our women, as you know, Ivy, they're working moms. And in many cases, they're single moms. So she needs to be healthy and well, and she needs the support of other women and an organization like Dress for Success to help her so that she can not only help herself, but she can help her children.
So let's talk about a little bit about working moms here, because you're a working mom. So you joined 21 years ago, and your kids, you know, I've seen your kids are, you know, we have Sydney in college now.
Sydney is out of college.
Oh,
Sydney's 22, just graduated.
God.
And my son is 20, so he's my Dress for Success baby. He's been with me for the full ride. And Sydney was literally less than a year when I joined Dress for Success. So, yeah, I've grown up at Dress for Success, and I've grown my children up at Dress for Success. And so, honestly, because I'm so much a part of this organization and it's so much a part of my heartbeat, it has really made me, I believe, a better mother, a better leader, a better friend to women, a better wife, because I sincerely care about what it takes to help a woman succeed in this world. And I think that helps and shapes you as to who you really are.
I cannot agree more. And I think there's a thing about being a working mother that we are women who can show up and do so much in a day in so many areas. And you took that concept and brought it to Dress for Success and said, we don't need to just be this. We can do a lot of things in a lot of areas here. And you ran with it. You never saw limitations. You always saw and continue to see what's possible.
That's it. I mean, I got that. I think that DNA is in me. It's kind of came through my mom's bloodline, is to be fearless and always to see life as, you know, a cup half full, not half empty.
So, in being a working mother and in growing Dress for Success, what it is today, you have been all over the globe. Correct?
I have, because we're really global.
And so share with us a little bit of, you know, I love that you shared, I started working in a church basement as an attorney when I threw myself in with this lot. And every nonprofit is a business, right? So how on the other side of things have you been able to look at this from a business perspective and scale and grow now a global organization that makes a ripple effect in the impact it makes, or has a ripple
Absolutely.
effect?
No, you know, a nonprofit is a business, albeit a nonprofit business, but it's a business nonetheless, and it needs to be treated as a business. And when Nancy Lublin, our founder, decided to create Dress for Success, what she did is, in her study of how to scale her nonprofit, she followed the Dunkin' Donuts business model. And so she realized that to get scale in a relatively short amount of time, we needed to introduce Dress for Success's growth into very much a nonprofit franchise model. They call it federated. And so every Dress for Success is independently run with its own budget and its own board, and they license the use of the name from us here at headquarters. And by doing so, they have to abide by, obviously, processes and procedures, and so we run a tight ship, but it has allowed us to grow and scale the organization, unlike probably any other nonprofit in the last 20 years. To have 163 brick and mortar locations is almost unheard of in this kind of virtual world that we live in. So it was a really smart business model, and it allowed us to do this work, you know, all across the United States, but honestly in 29 other countries around the world too. And we not only care passionately about the mission of Dress for Success and the work that we do, but we treat Dress for Success as a brand. And so that's where treating it as a business and a brand is critical. And certainly my background in nonprofit, in law, and in journalism has been helpful to me in helping tell the story of what Dress for Success is truly about. And by doing so, it's brought a lot of people into the organization, like you.
And I have to say what I love about everything I go to at Dress for Success, whether it be one of the breakfasts where we have a Dress for Success ambassador at every table that we really can touch and see and learn, to some of the speaking and leading of various programs that I've done over the years, is your women are just like you and me. There's no difference. Their just lives took an unexpected turn. And but for the grace, it could be you or me. Exactly.
And so that's the beauty. And honestly, we always sit one of the Dress for Success ambassadors at our corporate tables, and in many times the company didn't even know who the stranger is at the table, because they just see it as another executive woman sitting at their table. Because, you know, our women are resilient, and they pull themselves up by their bootstraps, and they do the hard work, and they get back to work, and then they begin to soar in their work and in their life. And so it's important for people to put a face on what it is to be unemployed or underemployed. And I think the face of 20 years ago is very different from the face today. It could be anyone. And so Dress for Success needs to be and should be that organization for any woman who's either unemployed or underemployed, that needs to get back to work, that needs the support of an organization. That's what Dress for Success is.
I want to ask, I have to ask, as a leader and as a woman, what are some of the lessons that you've learned and surprised you over these years?
I think, you know, for me, it's just been, I am in learned mode all the time. And so there's not a day that doesn't go by at Dress for Success that I'm constantly learning from my team members, from the volunteers and their passion and compassion for Dress for Success, from the Dress for Success clients and what they have to overcome. I think, you know, I listen a lot, and I pay close attention to what's happening around me. And by doing so, I just learned so much about the organization that we're trying to create at Dress for Success. So I'm in learned mode all the time. You know, I need people to understand that Dress for Success is so much more than clothing. And so we're just paying attention to how we tell the story of Dress for Success, so that our donors, people who've been donating to us for 20 years, so that they can see Dress for Success differently. We're not that organization we were in 1997 when we simply gave away clothes. We're so much more than that. And so I'm learning, like, what do we need to do to be better storytellers? And how do we get our mission out there in front of this? And how do we serve women better? So I listen.
What surprises have come your way in this journey?
Just the generosity of people. I think, the generosity of people and their spirit. There's probably not a day that doesn't go by that I don't get an email in my inbox from a stranger who somehow found Dress for Success through a Google search and will tell me a story about either a donation they made of clothing or money, or that, they needed Dress for Success 10 years ago and what we did in their life. I think Dress for Success is an organization that really connects people, and it makes you feel really good about what you're giving to it and what you're getting from it. And so that's been just surprising, is how generous people are with their time and their talent and their treasure, and how people really want to help other people succeed. Like, genuinely, women want to help other women succeed. And quite frankly, there are great men out there who also want to see women succeed. And so the generosity of people is it's sometimes very surprising, but I'm grateful for it.
I have to share this story at the last breakfast in the last few months, that I was sitting at a table, and there was a gentleman at the table, and everybody's introducing themselves and chatting. And, one of the women looks over and she goes, "So why are you here?"
He should have said, "Well, why not?"
Right. You know what he said? He goes, "My wife's involved, and at the last minute she couldn't come, and I wanted to attend. And at the end he goes, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I did." And he went on and expounded on what this meant to him, what being at this event and listening to what not just Dress with Success is about, but the people who are behind it and the people who have journeyed with it, the women who have impacted. He goes, he was so moved, and I'm sure I'm going to be seeing him early in December at the next one.
No, seriously, I know his wife. She's a real mover and shaker, and that's not the first event he's come to when his wife has been absent. He stands up for women. That's who he is. But I also want to say that a lot of our women, the ones who are raising their children, both, boys and girls, there's going to be a lot of men out here who have single moms. And my hope is that Dress for Success served her, and that these young men, as they become men and go on to do great things in their lives, they'll remember that there was an organization, Dress for Success, that helped their mom. So not to say that we helped his mom, because we didn't, but I think there'll be a generation of young men who will come up who will know Dress for Success, because they watched their mom get the support she needed and the love that she needed and the devotion that she needed, and that she was treated with dignity and respect. And they will have an impression of Dress for Success. So I think we're not only helping women, but we're helping men too.
Oh, there is a huge impact on the men who are seeing through their mothers and through various other women the impact the organization makes. And that's without a doubt. And I also say, our sons. I mean, it's awesome. It really is awesome. So loving that. What tips do you have? So this is a kickoff for a series through the holidays, all about nonprofits, and we're going to be highlighting various forms of nonprofits. I have been a participant for Dress for Success, and I appreciate you coming on today. There are many other nonprofits, and you can actually be aligned with more than one, ladies and gentlemen.
Sure.
And I am. What tips or advice do you have for people who say, gee, I never really thought about getting involved in anything? What could it look like? It seems scary, or it's not scary, or I don't know how to begin. Help us. Give us some ideas. Yeah.
Now I'm going to give your audience the Nike tip, which is just do it. Like, don't just think about if I had more time. Like, it's almost like having a baby. There's never a right time, right? You just do it. and life will fall into play thereafter. Nonprofits, what we need is volunteers. What we need is community. What we need is smart people who care and are passionate about purpose. And when we get those people into our organization, it helps our organizations grow and reach our potential. So if there's some value that you can bring to an organization in your time, your talent, or your treasure, just figure out a cause that you care about and show up. Pick up the phone, just as I did some 22 years ago, and ask, how can I donate a suit? You'd be surprised that organizations really need people who are going to invest in them. And you may make the difference that a nonprofit needs through your leadership, or being a volunteer, or being on their board, or being in an advisory capacity. However you want to give, listen, there's nothing that is a gift too small. So just give, and honestly, just do it. Don't wait for someone to invite you in. Open the door yourself and get through it.
I love that. I love that. So in looking forward for Dress for Success, you're global at this point. I love your business model. I love that you guys looked at the how Dunkin' Donuts have grown and taken a similar, you actually studied and said, hey, this is business. We are a business. What do you see for the vision of Dress for Success in the next, 5 to 10 years moving forward?
Sure. It's almost hard to look at. It's almost hard to look at a timeline 5 to 10 years anymore, because things are going at such warp speed. You almost only can look at an organization in a 2-year window, because honestly, 4 years from now, who knows? We won't even be using computers. We'll be writing on our hands. It'll be completely different. So I can't even fathom what 10 years out looks like, but I can tell you over the next 2 to 3 years, because we've grown so quickly in a relatively small amount of time, we're actually going to spend the next year looking inward at our organization and shoring up our affiliate base, providing support to our affiliates, the Dress for Successes around the world, and really look at some restructuring and how we can support and enhance the service deliverables that our affiliates are giving to the women that we serve. And so it may feel like next year that we're not growing. In essence, we will. We'll just be growing inside. And so sometimes when you grow this quickly and in such a short amount of time, you've got to take and hit the pause button to shore up your organization, to protect it against any potential disruptors out there in the marketplace, and to make sure that what we are doing is that we're delivering best-in-class services to the women that we're supposed to serve. And you can only do that when it's quiet and you're looking at yourself and you're looking inward to make sure that what we've been doing for the last 20 years continues to work. And then what will this look like in the next 2 to 5, so that we continue to create smart programs that help women move the needle on their lives.
I love that. And, for the listeners who are repeat listeners and have been around, and for the new listeners today, I'm a huge advocate on the inside-outside approach. Great leaders will work on yourselves and your businesses as much internally as you do on the external brand look and expansion. And it goes on a very personal level of us as individuals. It's always know to look in and make sure you're working on your inner strength, your inner core, and your inward development, as well as what you're projecting out to the world and your business, your organizations, and branding that forward. So I completely love and respect that you're going to take a breath and take an internal approach so you can always have that strong foundation as an organization.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we're trying to do.
Love it. Last tips or advice, anything to say in parting?
Just, I celebrate women. We're an organization that's about women's empowerment, and this is the time of the women. This is our time. And so my advice is for women to lean in and, you know, find your purpose in this world. I love the poem about living your dash. And if you haven't heard it, Ivy, I'm sure you have. It's about
Yes.
those two important dates in your life, the day you're born and the day you leave this earth, and that the really important thing is what's in between, which is the dash. And so I just ask women to live their dash and to find their purpose in life. And when you find your purpose, you really live. And that's what I wish for women, that they live.
I can't agree more. Slater Success, as many of you know, is all about the woman. We coach a few great men as well, but we lead with our women and what women can do and the difference we can make as a whole. And it is about the journey, and it very much. And think about what you're going to leave behind when you get the other side of the dash, and know that it's in alignment with who you are and who you want to be. Actually, through that is how Slater Success was branded, but that's a story for another day. Joi Gordon, thank you so much. You could find how to connect with Dress for Success in the show notes. Take a look at the Dress for Success website. Take a look at the impact this organization makes globally and the difference it makes in women's lives, and the ripple effect of that as it goes down through our generations in the future. Joi, thanks again for being here.
Ivy, thank you for being you.
We will see you next time. Stay tuned with more wonderful episodes coming up on her success story from dynamic and different nonprofits and the different points of view and approaches.